Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. We will start off with our inspiration this morning. Sylvia Baptiste has the inspiration this morning.
Good morning. Love is a profound, active, and transformative force that gives life its deepest meaning and purpose. It is not merely a feeling, but a daily commitment to kindness, patience, and vulnerability, acting as both the foundation of human connection and the ultimate healer that cures both the giver and the receiver. Good morning again, everyone.
Thank you, Sylvia. And I'll stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag for the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. Are there any announcements this morning? Anything? Nothing. Okay, that works. So before I hand it over to our Toastmaster this morning, I will read off who is in the room. Darcy Colby, Mark Campos, Nancy Ferry, Steve Smith, Jill Roaring, Mike Licata, Maggie Craig, Larry McKenzie, Samantha Giambattista, Beth Banks, Jim Sacco, Marty Johnson, and our guest, Chris Kelly. On Zoom this morning, I have Bridget Newton, Margot Bittner, Phil Russell, Sylvia Baptiste, Yang, Tracy Farrell, David Jones, and Les Robinson. It is for our table topics person later on in the meeting. But with that, with our colorful decorations and everything else presented this morning, I will turn it over to our Toastmaster of the day, Darcy Colby.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer, fellow Toastmasters, and our guest, Chris. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. As Toastmaster of the day, it is my responsibility to introduce a theme, make a toast, introduce the job holders, introduce table topics, call for the reports, introduce the evaluators who introduce the speakers, call for the reports, introduce evaluators who call for the evaluations, call for the reports, and then introduce the general evaluator, who will then do the last minute things. Okay, so I hope your drive-in was a little nicer than mine. I left my house at 10 after 5 and I got here an hour and a half later. I probably wouldn't have drove in if I wasn't Toastmaster, but here I am, 40 miles an hour. Actually, it got better when I got into Lockport. It got better. So I'm raised a toast and I don't even have a cup with me because I left it in the truck. Here's a toast to winter. We're in the middle of February, so hopefully we've only got a few more months. We can do it. We can do this. Welcome to New York. Here, here. All right, today's theme is love, love, love. We only have 2 days to go before Valentine's Day. And I hope that you got your sweetie something. So I'm just going to give a very short history of Valentine's Day, how it came about. And then hopefully we'll talk more about it as other people come up here today. So rewind all the way back to the 3rd century. There was a priest and his last name was Valentine. And he lived in the Roman Empire. And he performed wedding ceremonies for Christian soldiers who were forbidden to marry. I'm not sure why they were forbidden. But because of that, he was jailed and finally executed by being beheaded. While he was in jail, he struck up a romantic relationship with his jailer's daughter. And legend has it that he wrote her a farewell letter signed Your Valentine just before his execution, which happened to be on February 14th. Okay, fast forward to 496 AD. A feast day, a Christian feast day was celebrated to honor this martyr. Fast forward to the 14th and 15th century, where poets began writing about this time of year and how it's the birds' mating season and the beginning of spring, and notions of courtly love flourished, apparently by association with the lovebirds of early spring. Fast forward to the 18th century in England, the day grew as an occasion for couples to express their love for each other by presenting flowers, offering confections, as they called it, and sending greeting cards known as Valentines. Symbols were heart-shaped items, doves, and winged cupids. And then here we are today, where these events have evolved into a cultural celebration of love and romance. At my house, it's pretty low key. I go to the dollar store and get a dollar card for my husband. And then, of course, I buy him his favorite candy, heart shaped, of course, Reese's peanut butter cups. All right. So I'm going to start introducing the job holders. We have the word of the day. Let's do that first so we can get that in our head. And our word master is Beth Banks. Thank you for stepping up to the plate for this, Beth. Thank you.
You're that much taller than I am? Okay, everyone's taller than I am, so, okay. I have two. I'm a Kate, pulling a Kate, but they're very similar, so it depends on what emphasis you want to put on the words. And now my tape is stuck together. The French would say mon amour, my love. The Italians would say amore, an intense feeling of affection for a person or a passion. And if I had much of a voice today, I would sing, that's amore, but I really don't. So I'll just leave you guys. Thank you.
Next, we have our master, and I believe that's David Licata. Is he here? He's not here. Okay, we'll wait a few minutes for that. Grammarian is Jill Roaring. Jill, would you come up and tell us what the grammarian does?
Good morning, everybody in person and online. As grammarian, my job is to watch and record instances of language, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and report at the end of the meeting. Hopefully there's a lot more good than bad or ugly. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. All right, our next job holder, we're going in order here, is Jim Sacco. Jim, would you give us a quote of the day, please?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, let me first start off by saying St. Valentine was a Roman saint from the 3rd century, so he's Italian. It's okay. So amore, I tell you, amore. So anyway, love. The theme is love. Love of country is my theme. You think of what today is. Today is February 12th. Whose birthday is today? Happy birthday, dear mom. Abraham Lincoln, our president. We always celebrate the president's birthdays during February. We seem to lose that. February 22nd is George Washington's birthday, the founder of our country. And he's the one who pretty much established the Constitution and the rule of law in this country. And then it was Abraham Lincoln, February 12th, who his birthday was February 12th, who also unified the country again. Another one I'd like to throw in here is February 6th. Favorite president that I remember in my lifetime is also my daughter's birthday, was Ronald Reagan, who did a lot for this country. But anyway, the quote for the day is from our birth president today, which is Abraham Lincoln. There I have two of them. He said in the past that we the people are the rightful masters of both Congress and the courts, not to overthrow the Constitution but to overthrow the men who pervert the Constitution. Another quote from Abraham Lincoln, America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because of we destroyed ourselves. So we can remember that. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jim. Very nice. All right, our next roll holder is our jester, and that would be Bridget Newton. Bridget, you've
Good
got the floor.
morning. Hi, thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I've not been on Zoom, so this is my first time, so bear with me, please. Bonjour, mon amore. Well, that's all I got for the word of the day, but anyways, as a jester, I have a few funny, humorous jokes for you. So the first one would be, did you hear about the notebook that married the pencil? She finally found Mr. Right. Okay, here's another one. The wife says, our new neighbor kisses his wife when he leaves for work. Why don't you do that? The husband replies, well, how can I do that? I don't even know her. Here's another one. So I'm not going to be able to hear you all reply, but knock, knock.
Who's there?
Thank you, Darcy. Honeydew. Honeydew who?
Who?
Honeydew, you know how often I think of you every day. So anyways, hope you have a wonderful, funny day today. Au revoir.
Thank you, Bridget. Bridget, please don't go too far. I'm going to take you up on your offer to be our evaluator for today, if you would so kindly do that. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, let's go to timer. Our timer is Samantha. Samantha, would you come up to the podium, please? It's not a podium, it's a lectern. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. As timer, I will time the table topic speakers, formal speeches, and evaluations using the green, yellow, and red cards to denote specific times remaining. Table topics are 1 to 2 minutes with a 15-second buffer. Speeches 5 to 7 minutes with a 30-second buffer. Marty's speech today, based on the level, is going to be 7 to 10 minutes. And then evaluations, 2 to 3 minutes with a 30-second buffer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And also Maggie's speech is also a little bit longer, right? So we can't screw around today. We can't waste a lot of time. We got to get out of here by 7:30 when we got 2 long speeches. 8:30, right, 8:30. You're right. Half the day's gone already. All right. So we did that. Quizmaster, Yang, would you tell us what the Quizmaster does for today?
Good morning, Mr. Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters. I'm the Quizmasters today. I will prepare several questions to see how much you will learn today. Thank you. Back to Toastmaster, Miss Toastmaster.
Thank you, Yang. Yep, I'll be a Mrs. Toastmaster today. All right. David, you're just in time. We need you to come up and tell us about so let's hear it for Dave Licata. Come on up. I waited as long as I could. Thanks for being here, Dave.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. What this is all about, this Toastmaster thing, is about selling. It's about getting your ideas across through better communication skills. Now, if you go, The person listening to all these ahs and ums are going to say to themselves, that person doesn't sound like they're very sure of themselves, defeating the purpose of practicing better communication. So if you drop an ah and an and we find out you're using other crutches like and, you're going to hear about it today. Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mr. Licata. We look forward to your report. All right, now we go into the next portion of the meeting, which is always fun, which is our table topics. And our table topics master today is Larry McKenzie. Let's hear it for Larry.
Good morning. Hopefully that doesn't get any copyright problems with our film here. So anyway, love, that's our theme, I do believe, today that we're using for our Valentine's week. And I have some interesting questions about love. So we'll find out, as soon as I find them, how we have, just so you all know, we have an author amongst us, not in the room here, but online. So we're going to go to him first. And I'm going to ask David Jones. David, are you out there in Zoom land? All right. So David, here is your question. If you could write a love letter to your younger self, what would you say to yourself? Please welcome David Jones. Oh, you're driving, David. We got
I'm
you.
driving, so I'm going to pass on that one.
All right. I'll tell you what, I'll catch you next time. In that case, we're going to use that same question and we're going to go to Tracy Farrell.
If I was to write a love letter to myself,
what would you say?
What would I say? Fellow Toastmasters, as a younger child in school, I would say, listen, pay attention to your teachers, pay attention to your parents. They absolutely know what they're talking about. You're 15 years old and you don't know a lot about life yet, and there's a lot to learn. I would say be patient, work hard, work a lot harder. When I was 15, I was worried about all my friends and what I was going to do after school and so forth. I wasn't worried about studying and what I was going to do after high school and after college, how to make a future for myself. So I'd say take life a little bit seriously, listen to your parents, listen to your teachers, and all of those mentors, work hard. I would also say enjoy life. You can work really hard, but you also have to play hard. So put some amore into your life, embrace your culture, and enjoy it. Work hard, play hard. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Miss Farrell. We're going to hit Zoom land one more time. We were going to go for 2 out of 3, but we're going to hit 3 out of 3 because David passed on us today, but we'll catch him double next time. We're going to look for Les Robinson out there. Les, he's an evaluator. He changed up too. All right. Well, everybody's got a role today, pretty much. So I'm going to ask right here, one of our guests, would you like to join us for a table topics one? Is this, all right. For those of you that are in Zoom land, we have a guest who's here today. His name is Thomas. And Thomas was just introduced by Maggie here at our meeting. So Thomas, I'm going to invite you up to the lectern. All right. Welcome. Here is your question. Now, the question, if you've followed with table topics, you should try to use the word of the day. And when you see the green, that means you can exit stage left or right. So here is your question. Your question is this. If you had to pick a theme song for your love life, what would it be? And, or you can change and do whatever you wish.
See, one of the issues that sometimes I run into when I get questions like this is I have a desire to find the funniest answer. So you stop and you consider which one would be the most humorous, perhaps the Bad Touch by the Bloodhound Gang, uh, perhaps the "Come and Get Your Love" from the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Uh, but I think that if I had to actually answer the question, it would probably be something Elvis related, something simple, something down to earth, and something that stresses the importance of talking to the people that you know and giving feedback to the ones who care about you as a person and as someone that you're dating. Uh, 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 no, see, it's we talked about the saying a lot of the time, and here I am saying it as many times as I ever have. uh, I took a lot of French and c'est l'amore. Thank you.
Au revoir. Au revoir, monsieur. Now, I know he has an important role in our meeting today, but we're going to invite him up. Mr. Mike Licata, even though he opened the meeting, he technically does not have a role. So, Mike, here's your question. Are you ready for it? I don't know if you are. So here you are. If you could have a romantic dinner with any historical figure, who would it be? And what would you do? Keep it clean.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. Good morning again, fellow Toastmasters and our guests this morning. If I could have one romantic dinner with anybody from history, I would probably go back to the educational times and probably try to have dinner with Helen of Troy to meet, not to get super, super philosophical, but as one of those experiences is you want to meet somebody that had the influence to launch 1,000 ships, to start a war between two great warring nations in Greece, to establish what could potentially be not modern storytelling and fairy tales and writing, but getting pretty close to that. So much so that we still talk about it. It's still discussed in schools. They're still making movies about it. They are still, it is something, she's having an influence in this day and age somehow, some way. I think it'd be very fascinating to just pick her brain to see what went into her decision making. And that would be my Amore experience, Mr. Tabletops Master. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. I was surprised you didn't follow in Dad's footstep and say Sophia Loren or something to that. Right? I'm sorry, Dave. Could we have a timers report?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. Everyone qualified. Tracy came in at 1 minute and 15 seconds. Thomas came in at 1 minute 42 seconds, and Mike at 1 minute 22 seconds. Thank you.
Well, let's find out if amore was a popular word during our table topics, Miss Table Topics, or Miss Wordmaster.
Thank you. Yes, everyone qualified. They did use the word of the day. Some kind of snuck it in at the end, but they used it. Thank you very much.
In just a few moments, for those of you that are in Zoom land, our Zoom master Mark today will be putting up a ballot. Please vote for who you felt was the best table topics. And same thing within our meeting today. And I'm going to turn the meeting back over to our Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. Fellow Toastmasters, our guests, it is now that time of the meeting where I call for each evaluator to introduce our speakers for today. And again, I want to thank Bridget for volunteering, so I didn't have to beg or plead or to get another evaluator. So thank you, Bridget. Bridget, you're going to be our first evaluator, so I'd like you to introduce our first speaker. Our first speaker, and if you don't have her information, I do, so you may deflect to me.
The information that I do have, but you may supplement if necessary, is the presentation is going to be by Maggie Craig. The title is Creating the Best Club Climate, and this is part of the Successful Club series. The time for her is between 10 to 15 minutes. And if there's more information, I would appreciate anything. Otherwise, I will end it with that. Thank you.
Thank you,
Miss-
Bridget. That was perfect. So
Miss
please,
Toastmaster.
timer, please make a note that it's 10 to 15 minutes, which is unusual. Usually they're 5 to 7, but some are longer. Maggie Craig, Creating the Best Club Climate. Creating the Best Club Climate, Maggie Craig.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Good morning. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters, our guest. Today's slide presentation is brought to you by the Toastmasters Successful Club Series and aided by Mark Campos, my tech, who will be doing my slides. So let's discuss climate. Not that climate. That's depressing, that climate. Instead, let's focus on the climate in the room. When someone walks into Toastmasters meeting for the first time, they're not thinking about pathways or education or evaluation. They're asking something much simpler. Do I feel comfortable here? Do I belong? Do these people want me here? The answer to those questions, whether a guest returns or whether a member stays active and thrives, comes down to one thing: club climate. Club climate is the invisible atmosphere in the room. It's how the room feels. It's how people treat one another. And what happens before the first speaker takes the lectern. So when we get here in the morning, our greetings to each other, the camaraderie that we feel. And here's the key idea. Every single member shapes that climate at every single meeting. I want to say this clearly from the start. We are exceptionally lucky at AM Lockport because so many of these principles are already a part of who we are. Mark, could I have my first slide, please? A club's climate is the deciding factor in whether guests become members and whether members remain active and engaged. Two main elements shape that climate. The first element is the learning environment. Is the room prepared? Is it welcoming? Does it feel intentional rather than accidental? I know that we can check off every one of those boxes. At AM Lockport, meetings are intentional. They feel intentional, even at 7 o'clock in the morning. The second element is member interactions. Do members encourage one another? Thank you for encouraging me. I appreciate that. Do they listen attentively? Is there room to learn, experiment, fail? Support here in this room isn't assigned, it's cultural. Encouragement isn't rare, it's routine. And that kind of climate doesn't happen by accident. Mark, my next slide, please. A positive club climate begins when members set the example. Leadership at AM Lockport has nothing to do with titles. It looks like arriving prepared and on time. And in our case, sometimes that means arriving before sunrise. It looks like offering assistance, setting up, cleaning up, noticing what needs to be done. And I have to look at our guys over here who, when we leave to go to breakfast this morning, Len and Mark are still hanging out, cleaning up, putting things away. And so thank you for that. It looks like volunteering. Successful clubs are team efforts, not solo performances. And it absolutely looks like supporting one another. At AM Lockport, applause is generous, attention is real, and encouragement is sincere. When people feel supported, they are willing to stretch themselves. And that's where the growth happens. Our next slide, please. For guests, Toastmasters can feel intimidating. They don't know the structure, they don't know the language, and they don't know where they fit. And in our case, we're a hybrid club. Some guests walk into this physical room. Some log in at their kitchen table. Some may never see our lectern or our banner, but they are just as much a part of this room. First impressions matter just as much on Zoom as they do in person. Do we greet them by name? Do we acknowledge them on the screen? Do we make eye contact with the camera as well as the room? At AM Lockport, we do a beautiful job, including our online members during meetings. But here's a gentle question to all of us, myself included. What happens when the meeting ends? When the in-person group lingers? When the Zoom window closes? Are we following up? Are we reaching out? Are we making sure those members feel just as connected beyond the screen? Belonging must continue past the bandwidth. Our next slide, please. Once someone joins, the responsibility doesn't end. It deepens. We show members we care by mentoring, encouraging icebreakers early, helping new members participate right away. We show care by remembering goals, by checking in, by noticing progress. And I know a few of you have done this for me, and I really do appreciate that. We show care by being considerate, prepared for roles, communicative when life intervenes, So many people have asked me how my husband was during the last little while while we've been going through, seems like an endless amount of surgeries. And thank you. We're at the end of the road. We're into physiotherapy and everything's great. And so thank you for your support during that time. And the members have been willing to step in when needed and offer help. We show their care through thoughtful evaluations, honest, positive, focused growth. We show care by recognizing achievements, improvement, milestones, educational awards. But what really truly sets AM Lockport apart is what happens beyond the agenda. Our officers' potluck meetings don't just, excuse me, don't just begin at the meeting/dining table. They begin earlier in the day with Mary and me cooking together for the afternoon. What started as a meal preparation has become something much richer. Conversation, laughter, friendship. Those evening meetings have turned leadership into family. A good reason to volunteer to be an officer next year or this year. If you haven't already, Eric is collecting names. And sometimes connection extends even further. This past summer, a road trip to the International Convention with Kate deepened both our understanding and appreciation of Toastmasters. Experiencing the broader organization together reminded us how special our own club is. Shared meals, shared travel, shared growth. That's not membership, that's community. Mark, our final slide. A strong club climate doesn't happen by accident. It happens when people choose to support one another, encourage one another, and genuinely care. And here's something remarkable about AM Lockport. We meet at 7 a.m. every Thursday, 7 in the morning, every Thursday, except Thanksgiving. And yet, even at that hour, we are one of the most successful and vibrant clubs anywhere. And that doesn't happen because of convenience. People don't wake up at sunrise or before sunrise for obligation. They wake up for connection, for growth, for belonging. So here's the question that I will leave you with. If someone, perhaps Thomas, is willing to wake up at 7 a.m. to be here, that's amore. What kind of experience do we owe them? Over 40 years ago, a group of you started building something special. Over decades, you developed a community, a family, one that I am honored to be a part of. Let's continue to protect it and make sure that everyone who joins us in this room or on screen feels that same sense of belonging. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Maggie, for that very inspirational speech. I finally thought of the words to that song. When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. And I started it too long. Okay. So that was awesome. That was an awesome speech and a lot of good suggestions. And thank you for that. Appreciate that. Our second speaker today is going to be Marty Johnson, and his evaluator is Margot Sue Bittner. Margot, would you please introduce Marty?
Thank you very much. I'm happy to introduce Marty. Marty did send me an email to make sure I got exactly what he wanted to do. And he's in the presentation mastery book path. It's a level 4 speech. It is another longer speech. It's a 5 to 7 minute speech plus question and answer, which is supposed to be 15 to 20 minutes, but he put 7 to 9 there. So Marty, I will let you tell the timer exactly what it is you want to do. But his purpose today is to learn about and practice facilitating a question and answer session about a topic of which he is particularly knowledgeable. And Madam Toastmaster, I will let you do the formal invitation and introduction with his title.
Thank you, Margot. Okay, so I don't have your title on here, Marty. What's the title of your speech? Or to pinch or not to pinch, sorry. Marty Johnson, to pinch or not to pinch? To pinch or not to pinch, Marty Johnson. Don't be pinching me.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests. Have you heard the phrase penny pinch? Penny pinch. Oh, I'm a penny pincher. Dave probably knows the song better than I do. Anyway, there's the term penny pincher dates back to the early 17th century in a play by Thomas Dekker, The Shoemaker's Holiday. And it portrayed a penny pincher, a frugal person. Times were probably tough and people were watching where their pennies were going. So the term penny pinch, people were watching their pennies, where their pennies were going. Personally, I love pennies. I do. I love pennies. I'll go to Crosby's. I'll take my mug there to this gas station and get coffee, and it's $1.61. And I always make sure that I have change in my pocket and $1, and I give them $1.61 with my Crosby card. However, all this might come to a screeching halt because on your table you will see what now New York State is the 9th state in the United States to have what's called, they're getting rid of pennies. Many of you may have heard that. In November of last year, the US Mint stopped producing pennies. I'm going to give you a few more facts, and then I'm going to go into Tops Market's policy on the pennies and the rounding, and then I'm going to have the question and answer session at the end. But let's go back to some other facts. So, do you know how much it costs to make 1 penny? How much? 3.7 cents. Close. With that said, as I mentioned, New York State is the 9th state to have this ruling, this law, and things are getting held up in the government. The House and Senate proposed this legislation. However, it hasn't made it to the floor according to my research. I looked up on the internet. It's called State Line. It's a New York State, like a financial page of what's going on in New York State. And that's where I learned a few of those facts. Now, Tops Market's policy, the second main point I want to talk about, is what you can see on your table. They round because pennies aren't going to be in circulation much longer, even though I'll probably still carry them in my pocket for good luck. I'm always picking them up, and among other things. Tops policy, for example, if your bill comes to $1.02, it's rounded, your bill's rounded to $1. If your bill comes to $1.03 or $1.04, it's rounded up to $1.05. Some of you may have experienced this, you may not. If it's $1.06 or $1.07, it's rounded to $1.05, for example. And if it's $1.08 or $1.09, it's rounded to $1.10. And I had an opportunity the other day Actually, it was last night at Sanborn Tops. I went in, I bought a few things, and the bill came to $7.92. And I knew I had cash, and I didn't have that 92 cents that I usually have. I usually have just 61 cents. But anyway, so the clerk asked, would you like to round up? And this guy was, by the way, was very enthusiastic, and I should have invited him to Toastmasters. Unbelievable for a cashier. So enthused about what he's doing. It's amazing. But he said, would you like to round up for, it used to be called Junior Diabetes Foundation, and now it's called Breakthrough for Junior Diabetes Foundation. And I said, sure. So 8 cents. So my bill came to $8. Well, it's interesting. Last night when I was gathering some thoughts, I was thinking about that. Wow. So if he didn't offer me that, could I have just paid $7.90? Well, of course I could have. Because what happens is with your cash transaction, specifically cash, they look at the last digit in your bill. So if it was $7.92, that last digit is rounded. So it would have been $7.90. So he made an extra 8 cents, actually, not 8 cents for junior diabetes or breakthrough, and 2 cents for tops. And the other night, prior to that, was Tuesday night, I was at the Rochester Road Top supermarket. And I was talking to Beth, the cashier who I know, and she said, what do you think about this rounding? And my bill there came to, it was like $7.98. So she charged me $8. And she's thinking, what do you think? I think, well, you can keep my 2 pennies. I've got a pocket full of them anyway, so it really doesn't matter. And she said, I wonder if customers are going to start asking me for the change back and how you go about it. And I said, if they do, I would give it to them. You don't want to irritate a customer that's writing your paycheck every week. But eventually, I think people are going to become accustomed to this rounding. Tops, as of this past week, I noticed that that's what's been happening. Oh. So now that you know a little bit about the facts and about the rounding policy, I'd like to go into the question and answer specifically for this rounding, this cash rounding. Now, I meant to say that it just applies to cash. If you use a debit card or credit card, it's still that amount, that exact amount. But if it's cash, they do the rounding because the pennies aren't going to be in circulation to make the change. So the first question, I made up some questions, and then Carol, Dave Licata, and Mike. And Carol, you have a question for me. I am in favor of cash rounding, even though I've been so accustomed to paying the exact amount, because I love to get rid of coins. I always have coins for some reason, even though I try to pay the exact amount. I am in favor of the rounding because I know that it's inevitable. And even though I amore my pennies and my cash and my change, I know that it's inevitable. So I'm just going to go with the flow. David, you have a question. Yes, David, thank you. As I mentioned, those 2 examples from the actual stores that I was at, it's going to be interesting to see how the legislation goes through, because similarly to the paper bag fee, usually the bags are free, and then they went plastic to paper, and you were charged a few cents. Now it's up to, I believe it's 8 or 9 cents for a paper bag. So it's going to be interesting with the legislation to see where these extra cents go. Is it going to be help save you money on your groceries? I'd like to think so. Or is it going to go into an executive's pocket or paycheck? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I hope it's the former, that it will go into helping reduce some prices or some costs. And Michael. Oh, thank you, Michael. Excellent question. How do I think that the future is going to be? How close to a cashless society? And I experienced that this past week too, because have you ever gone to get air in your tires in an air pump? Did you know that you don't have to use coins? I'm sure all of you do, unless you have a butler or someone that takes care of your car for you. Mike, do you have a butler? No, not yet. Someday you will when you're managing the Yankees. But specifically to answer your question, I think we're very close because you can tap your card when you're making a purchase, like you can tap your card when you go to the gas station, get air in your tires. My son is all up on the technology. You can tap your card for payment and Apple Pay. I'm not totally experienced as much as he is on it, but I think we're very close to a cashless society. I don't know the number of years, but it's something that I'm going to follow. In conclusion, I would like to thank all of you for your participation today. Hope you learned a little bit about the no pennies and the rounding that specifically Tops Markets is going through. And I hope that you will continue to be a penny pincher and be frugal, because who knows, as Mike mentioned, the cashless society. So I hope all of you will continue to be frugal if you choose to do so. Thank you. Madam Toastmaster. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. I'm one of those penny pinchers myself. All right, our third speaker of the day will be our third speaker will be Philip Russell, and his evaluator is Lester Robinson. Lester, will you give us the purpose and the time and a little bit about Philip's speech?
Certainly, I'll be happy to. Phil speaking from the Innovating Planning, write a speech with a purpose. And speech is about future speeches, time 5 to 7 minutes. And I'd like to introduce Phil Russell, DTM, who always does a great speech. Phil, off to you.
Phil Russell, speech about future speeches, Phil Russell.
I'll bet everyone here has experienced a trauma in their life. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guest. That is why I want to thank David Jones for his courage in sharing his recent car rollover in a speech. I evaluated David's speech, and that brought to light how difficult it has been for me to talk about any of the traumas I have had in my life. David's speech inspired me to talk about some of my traumas now and in future speeches. I personally have experienced a rollover in my car. I do not share that story because it was extremely embarrassing, and someday I might. I have experienced a number of near-death encounters over my lifetime as well. I will share with you in Toastmasters some of these mishaps. I rarely talk about them, as most of us have. Stories from my past. Some of these stories surface periodically up here. Now, I have experienced anything from snowball fights to a gunfight. Now, being in winter, snow fits in perfectly with some of them. I'll tell you stories about the snowman at the intersection, Bellinger's Hill, and sledding. Skiing with Lisa and Jeannie. Sledding at the country club. Ice skating in an ice storm. Let's start off with sledding. I am already sledding in the winter when I was younger. We moved from Bellinger's Hill, which is our favorite sledding hill in those days when we were kids. We moved over to the cemetery at St. Patrick's. Let me tell you, it was slick. You don't want to go in where the gravestones are because those gravestones don't move when you hit them with your head. I found out something else. We were going down the roadway down towards Gooding Street. There, in those days, there was a railroad track there. And you didn't want to go into Gooding Street because cars were coming up that hill and down that hill like crazy. So I went down. I saw I was going too fast, and I was veered over to the left. And of course, that took me into snow, but it didn't slow me down. No, that sled going right, laying on its face first. I ducked my head and wham, bang, right into the snowbank which had our railroad track in it. Oh, man, did that hurt? Oh, goodness gracious. Well, let me tell you, it was extremely cold, just like it is now. So the pain went away relatively fast. All right, keep going. You took a few more rides, went home. I had my favorite hat on for winter with earmuffs and everything. Oh, I get home, it stuck to my head. I couldn't get it off. I went to my mother and I said, I can't get my hat off, Mom. She took the scissors and, of course, cut it off. Now, being a nurse, she had to investigate the bleeding that was there. It wasn't throbbing out. It wasn't bleeding too bad. So she just cleaned it up and let it go. But I had a headache afterwards. Every now and then when I see kids, oh, I don't see too many now, but I see them out at the country club sledding, I remember that. And that hurt like the dickens. Oh, that was awesome. Tobogganing at the country club, Lockport Town and Country Club. Oh, what an experience that was. Of course, we loaded up our toboggan. We had loaded up the station wagon. Somebody had a truck. We put in toboggans and sled. There had to be at least 10 of us out to Town and Country Club. There's nobody tobogganing down there. We had to have the fastest run. We tried them all, but there was one nobody did. We put 4 of us on that toboggan at the top. Let me tell you, we found out why nobody was sledding down that hill. All 4 of us got in there. Let me tell you, we're all hunched in. But we go down, boy, we're going fast. We hit something. 2 of us remained, 2 of them, well, I don't know if it was me or not, remained on. 2 of us fell off. All of us, we either had a bump in our nose and a bloody nose, a tooth loose, a bump in the back of the head from hitting each other because we hit a embankment that, oh man, that stopped us dead. And you're going that fast, it hurt. We get down to the bottom, we're all just sort of traumatized. We're going, holy crap. I think about that every time I go by the country club. Not sharing these experiences or traumas with others can cause them to recur in our minds. I've had that happen, especially some of the more traumatic ones. Sharing can reduce what they now call PTSD, post-traumatic syndrome disorder. Sharing these traumas can reduce the stress and anxiety so they don't reoccur in your mind. Thank you again, Dave, for sharing. Let us all have the courage to share our traumas, mishaps, and experiences at Toastmasters? Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Philip. That was very nice. Very nice. And I think you're right. Talking about whatever is very therapeutic. I'm going to give the evaluators another minute, and I'm just going to give a very short filler. I think one of the things that we all share in common as human beings is we all want to be loved, and we all want to give love, and we all want to be appreciated. And I know I thanked a couple people already. I'd like to thank a few more people. Thank you, Maggie, for offering to be an evaluator today. I appreciate that. I told her, no, I think it's easier to find an evaluator than a speaker at this point, but thank you. I also want to thank Margot again for putting me onto that Toastmaster in a box. Because the last time I did Toastmaster, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Well, I still don't, but I'm better now. I'm a little bit better. So thank you, Margot, for that, for pointing that out. It was very helpful. Also, I definitely want to thank our tech crew again, Len and Mark, for all the hard work and expertise that they do. So let's everybody give yourselves a round of applause. All right, so we're coming to that point in the meeting. Oh, yes, call for a timer's report for each of these speeches. Thank you, Samantha.
Thank you. Maggie came in at 12:04, which qualifies for her 10 to 15-minute speech. Philip, 7:09, which qualifies for 5 to 7. Marty, I don't know if you're going by the total time, it was 10:35. The Q&A started at around 6:45.
Thank you. Thank you, Samantha, for that timer's report. Do I call for a word report at this point or not? No? Okay, thank you. All three qualify. You may cast your ballot, and Michael, come around and collect your ballots. So it's that point in the meeting where the evaluators will come up and give an evaluation of each of the three speeches. Our first evaluator, and again, thank you, Bridget, for stepping up for this one. Bridget Newton will be evaluating Maggie Craig. Take it away, Bridget.
Thank you. You do not want to go by Madam Toastmaster. You wanted to go by Miss Toastmaster. Anyways, Mrs. So evaluating Maggie's speech. First, I would like to say it seemed as though it tied in with the love theme in the sense that you talked about camaraderie and community and how we can all come together and support one another. I do appreciate how you smile when you step on the podium or behind the podium straight away. You described the climate, the definitions, the parts of climate, the importance of we, and really referenced the group, the club itself, in many different parts and times in your speech. So I really appreciated that. And you expressed your own gratitude for the club and the people in it, the connections you've made. So you gave a personal touch to it. Typically, you do not look at your notes hardly at all. So today, I believe, was unusual for that. I did appreciate having PowerPoint. I'm guessing because I'm not in the audience that it was up on the screen for those to see. I do not know why some of the words were stuck together. It wasn't lined up properly. So that would be something to maybe run through if you're going to use a PowerPoint again. But I did like the PowerPoint and the certain parts to it and how you could follow through with that. And when you were saying next slide, it was a good transition. So we knew you were going on to another part of your speech or another topic or whatnot. I do appreciate the gestures that you use with regards to asking for the next slide and bringing the audience into the speech itself. I do appreciate the part where you went back to the beginning of the definitions that you gave, referenced those again, and the community that's been created here. But overall, I really thought you had some wonderful ideas and pointed out some wonderful parts of this club. And yes, getting up at 7 a.m. is difficult, but it is definitely worth it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bridget.
Welcome. Thank you.
Our second evaluator is Margot Sue Bittner, and she will be evaluating Marty Johnson. Margot, take it away.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and of course, Marty. Marty came to us with a very current message this morning about the pennies. And that's something we dealt with a lot during COVID when we didn't have change. And it's interesting to hear how everything is going to work because Marty has a knowledge base that we don't have, being that he works at TOPS. So Marty started out with exactly what his premise was, gave us a personal story, and drew us right in. His attributes this morning were fabulous. I loved his vocabulary. Words like frugal came out, and other terms that maybe enhanced his speech more than I would have anticipated with when you're talking about pennies. It was great. He was ready to go. And I loved the vocal variety, the screeching noise, and other points that you brought in. It just shows you the reality of the situation. How are we going to cope? What is going to happen? And you gave some personal examples of yourself going out shopping, and this is what's going to happen. However, the purpose of an evaluation is to tell you some ways to improve. So I'm going to put on my grammarian hat a little bit and remind you that like and aren't necessary for transitions. We need to end our words with G's and a couple other drop things you had. But I also would have changed the organization just a teeny bit. When you started your question and answer, you talked about it being cash only events. That really needed to be further up in the speech. I know it probably was in there. It's one of those things you forget, because what I did notice was you weren't using notes, which was so exciting for me, because a lot of times you have props or notes that you're using, but you were looking around the room. You were not using any notes, which gets me to the improvement, the end of my sandwich with your growth. I'm excited that you used the word of the day, because that was a tough one to fit in. Not everybody can find a way to put amore in a speech today. But the growth since you joined our club, Marty, I am so proud of you, and I'm so glad to have gotten to know you and listen to this speech this morning. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Margot. Our third evaluator today is Les Robinson, and he will be evaluating Philip Russell. Les, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'll use the word of the day, amore. Now, Phil, I have been in Toastmasters for 15 years, 20 years, I have no idea. But this was one of the most touching, feeling speeches that I have ever hear you present, do. I could see the emotions, I could feel the energy, I could feel the commitment. I was expecting something a little more humorous, but you got into the core of who you were, or who you are, excuse the language. And you went through the trauma. And I was expecting something a little bit different, but it flowed. It was very, like, almost beautiful energy coming out as you were explaining certain things. And you were dealing with stuff inside of you that you needed to deal with. And you dealt with it very interesting, very funny, very serious, all of it all tied in. You do that very well on all of your speeches. One thing I would have done, and the only thing I would have improved on, is maybe had a pictures of a couple of the hills where you went. That was it. Otherwise, I could visualize you going down Gooding Street. I could visualize you at St. Patrick's. I could visualize you on a a sled with 4 people, except I visualized mine at Bonds Lake. I could visualize you at the country club. So every time, this is the one thing strength about your speech is you bring the visualization of what you're talking about and you revert to your own ideas and it ties you better into the speech. And I think this is extremely well done on this one. And this was, I will say, one of the best speeches you've ever done. And I'm looking forward to your next ones. Great job, Phil.
Thank you, Lester. Okay, I'll call for the timers report to see if the evaluators qualify.
Thank you. All three qualified. Bridget came in at 2 minutes, 38 seconds, Margot at 2:23, and Lester at 2 minutes.
Thank you, Samantha. Go ahead and cast your ballot for the best evaluator, and Mike will come around and pick those up. And now I think this is the point in the meeting where I call for the reports. Is that correct? Oh, I call the evaluator to do that. Okay, very good. Our general evaluator today, who evaluates a whole bunch of things about the meeting, is Stephen Smith. Stephen Smith, I'm going to hand the podium, the lectern. I keep saying podium. It's a lectern. I'm going to hand the lectern over to you, and you can call for the reports.
Little point of order. That is, little point of order. Totally up to you. You want to do the reports or let the GE do them? That's your call.
Okay.
Do them. I'm happy to do them.
Thank you.
Having said that, I've been monitoring this over the course of the week. There were problems with the schedule. She filled them. I was watching the emails come through. I see holes. She filled all those holes. The meeting went up flawlessly as far as that goes. But let's get into some of our other reports before I give the rest of my report. Let's kind of start in reverse order. Let's hear from our quiz master, Yang. Got some questions for us.
I only get 5 questions today.
Okay.
The first one, what Darcy would get to her husband on Valentine's Day.
Reese's Hearts, I'm hearing. Reese's Peanut Butter Cup.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing Reese's Peanut Butter Cups from the floor out here.
Oh yeah, yes. The second question, what is Abraham Lincoln's birthday? When is?
February 12th.
Oh, yeah.
Today.
That's correct. What is our guest's name today?
Thomas, I'm hearing it all over.
Okay. Okay.
And Craig.
The first question, in Maggie's speech, how do you show members that you care?
I'm not getting an answer. What do you got?
So be a mentor, show interest in others, be considerate, evaluate effectively, recognize achievements, forced carol random,
Camaraderie.
Yeah, camaraderie, yes. And the last question is, when Phil was a kid, he fell sliding and hit his head. What did he hit in the snow?
Railroad track. I'm hearing it all over.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Thank you.
And that does kind of explain a lot about Phil, doesn't it? Sorry, Phil. Okay, next let's hear from our grammarian, Jill. Come up and tell us how we did today.
Well, I guess first I can say about how horribly I did after listening to Margot with her grammarian hat right away. Because the only thing I caught Marty with was using the word like. And she caught him on several things. Oh, the snow blower is hitting our windows here. It's noisy. Duck, duck. Let's hope not. All right. I only caught a few things today. As I said, I'm not Margot. Phil, something we've heard numerous times, but hurt like the dickens. But then he used the word awesome after that, which I'm not sure how awesome being hurt like the dickens is. And less said, feel the commitment. And I'm just horrible at this job, apparently. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Now let's hear from our master. I'm sure he has something to say. Dave Licata.
Before I go any further, I have to say how proud I am of Michael. Helmet of Troy. All right, Mikey. A blonde Mediterranean. All right. We have a procedure here, Tom. And the deal is if a person has more than 5 eyes, we say somebody had more than 5. I'll let it go at this, though. But once Carol Ann heard you, she's been saying a rosary, hoping you'll join. Marty Johnson had 2 eyes. Jill kind of snuck in an Ann there at the end. You almost made it. So it's a rather light day. So that's interesting. And Bellinger Hill is at the foot of Allen Street, where I live on Allen Street. And I let you down, Phil. If you talk to me, I do have a photograph of you and your cohorts going down Bellinger's Hill. All right, Amore. In what Martin and Lewis movie did Dean Martin first do Amore? It was The Caddy.
Thank you, Fit. Thank you, Dave. And now, finally, let's hear from our word master, Beth Banks. How'd the word of the day do?
Thank you. Well, the word of the day did pretty well today. So often we start out really strong and kind of go downhill from there. It did pretty well today. All of our speakers in table topics and our speakers used Amore. I'm going to be the teacher now for a minute. Just saying it doesn't mean you used it correctly. Just saying that. Okay. I just couldn't resist. I was not an English teacher by choice at any time. So take that with a grain of salt. But I was impressed with how often it was used and throughout the meeting it was used. Very good. Like I said, all of our speakers used it, our evaluators used it. I almost was going to give Dave a hard time because he didn't use it till the end, and I couldn't believe that he wouldn't, but he used it and he used it correctly. Thank you, David.
Thank you. Well, I will give the balance of my report here. I mentioned that I thought she did an excellent job getting the meeting together and running the meeting. And I also have to evaluate the evaluators. I was impressed. They did a good job with a tough job evaluating any speaker in this room. I was particularly impressed by Les. He not only talked about the speech itself, but how the speech made him feel. That I think gets to the heart of what we're doing here, trying to reach out and touch people. So I thank you, Les, for bringing that up. And they all did pretty good evaluations. They said good parts. They gave some room for improvement. And I found nothing to find fault with in any of that. So they did a good job. What am I hearing? Oh, something, it's getting noisy here, sorry. Anyway, that concludes my report, so I guess I will call, what? I can give it back to the Toastmaster, yeah, all right. To call him up and conclude the meeting. Okay, here's our winners.
Thank you, Steve, for doing that nice evaluation. Okay, we have a few other things to do. I'm going to call up the presiding officer, Mike Licata, and he's going to announce the winners. He is going to draw for Split Club and see if we have any other announcements and then adjourn. So you have 4 things, Mike. And we want to thank our guests for coming today, Chris and Thomas.
Thank you. Do you want to? Yep. Carol Ann has a quick little statement to make.
I just wanted to mention on my mother's side of the family, my great grandfather, whom I never met, he was born on February 14th, not sure what year, but he was named James Valentine Galt. And I know he was a Civil War veteran, and maybe sometime that'll be material for one of my speeches.
Thank you, Carol Ann. And I will invite Thomas up again if you want to let us know what you thought of the meeting. We usually ask our guests of that every weekly. If you don't, you can stay down, you can stay there if you want. It's completely up to you. You gotta stay. I can come to you. We're good. Yeah. Well, we can. The mic moves.
I'll do it. I like being on camera. Thank you very much. I thought it was excellent, interesting, and one of the most intimidating things I've ever done. It's like improv with active threats, which is a good selling point and something I think everyone should do. Thank you all for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. And I will, Chris, did you want to speak? I know you've been here a couple of times. If you don't, you're good? Okay. Okay. Let me get my stuff together. So there's this. So we've actually had 2 ties this morning, both for table topics. Both Tracy and Mike tied for table topics. And we actually had a 3-way tie for evaluator this morning. So congratulations, all 3. Yes, 3-way tie for evaluators. No, it does not. And then our best speaker this morning is Maggie. So I'll come to you. You want to do Split Club?
Oh, thank you. I want to thank my mom. No. All right, I had a cataract surgery a couple weeks ago, and I literally can't read it.
Okay.
You're on. Thank you.
153. 153. All right, and then I have a couple of minutes, but he's not here, but we'll let him know. Joe Budnak is our Toastmaster next week. The speakers are Samantha, Marshall, and Nancy speaking next week. Check your emails. We'll make sure Joe knows. And my role as treasurer, we're not there exactly yet, but just keep in mind that dues will be due by the end of March. It is $66 for 6 months. And I want to thank all the people in advance that paid for the whole year. And with that, I will gavel the meeting shut.